Okay, Jim and I are, hey Jim.
Hey Kurt.
We're sitting here at McDonald's telling stories all about our past lives, and you just told me a story. We're telling scary stories about encounters in our life with different elements of society. And, I don't want this to come out the wrong way. There are different elements of society. In some places that some people, you can't cross the line. You can't go. I'm sure you have those in neighborhoods.
That's right.
You grew up, and
I just told Kurt a story about getting stuck down in the projects in Cincinnati.
Yep.
And it's got nothing to do with race or anything like
No.
that. It's just that the projects are a bad place.
Yeah, exactly. And there are bad places here, too.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm going to tell you a story, and
Okay.
you, about my experience, my attempt at basically sociology, and that led me to a pretty scary experience. I was in a speech communication class. It wasn't sociology, it was speech communication class. I think it was the first one I was ever taking in community college. And the assignment was to try to picture, it was an intercultural communication class, and the assignment was to try to imagine what it would be like to be a member of another culture. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Trying to picture that. So I took it to an extreme. I had just finished reading a book called Black Like Me. Are you familiar with that book, where the author basically attempts to become a black man?
No, I've heard of it.
Yeah, and he basically, in order, this is post, I think he wrote this in the 70s or something like that, in order to get an experience of what it was like to be black in America.
Mm-hmm.
A worthy endeavor, I think, to try and understand another culture. Kind of strange, but
Right.
it's an interesting book. So I decided to try my own version. And what I did, unbeknownst to my instructor, we just did a whole discussion about sneezes. Unbeknownst to my instructor, I got myself some makeup and a wig and some clothes, and I basically spent a whole morning dressing myself up as a black man. I did the black face, I had the wig, I had the clothes, I had everything down. I even went, before I went and tested, I drove by my friend Chuck Slosberg's house, pin pawn on the door to see what the reaction would be, and they believed I was a black man.
Okay.
Okay, not hard to fool an upper middle class Jewish family, though.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
So anyway, then I hopped in my Camaro and I drove down to Watts. And I found the most interesting looking neighborhood, and I parked the car and got out and started walking around. Almost got myself killed. I mean...
You didn't pull it off down there, I take it.
No. I mean, everybody saw that there was something wrong right from the start. And I got really lucky that I didn't encounter anybody that, I was just an innocent, stupid kid,
Right.
Trying something out.
Right.
But there were people started commenting like, "Hey, look, a black white," and some guys started following me, and it started getting a little bit scary. So I hopped in my car and beat it out of there really fast. And but I was blackface all the way down in the Camaro. It was a 45-minute drive to Watts and back, and the whole time. I really didn't get any good information. From it, I didn't really experience anything. In fact, probably all I did was cross some lines and make some people uncomfortable.
Do you think that maybe like you said, it's not hard to fool a white Jewish family, middle class Jewish family, right? Do you think that the black people down in Watts picked you out right from the start?
Oh yeah. There was no doubt. I didn't fit it.
So your camouflage didn't work.
It didn't work at all.
Right.
And I realized that the way I was walking, the way the profile of my face, everything about me in hindsight was wrong.
Nothing black.
Yeah. And I was very nervous. So
right.
So I didn't learn anything from this except it was an effort that could have been.
Well, you learn that possibly races can distinguish themselves from people trying to invade them.
Maybe.
It could be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You couldn't camouflage yourself to get in there.
And I tried really hard. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I fooled Chuck's mom. That wasn't enough.
Well, and you can probably do it here too, right? I think a lot of it has to do with clothes and things like that, but it's easy to pick out the non-American white people.
Right. Oh, yeah, you're right.
It is.
It is, yeah. It is. And North America. North America.
Right.
Canadians and Americans tend to, no insult to the Canadians for lumping them in, but we're kind of very similar in many ways, unless you hear them talk.
Right, because they're right there in our backyard.
Right, and we're right there in their backyard.
Right.
But Canadians, if you hear them talk, some Canadians you can kind of gauge it.
What's that all about, eh?
Yeah. Speaking of crossing a line, but yeah, the Europeans, the Australians, they have a certain
unique look to them,
to them, and an attitude.
Well, actually, the Canadians do have one thing that sticks them out from others.
What's that?
That goddamn maple leaf stuck on their backpack.
I heard that there are Americans now traveling in Europe that wear the make-believe so that people won't think that they're one of us.
Yeah, I've actually been in situations where like anti-American sentiments around, and I just tell people I'm Canadian.
Oh, really? You can get away with it?
Yeah. No, I'm Canadian. Hey.
Hey, yeah. Well, I wonder how Canadians feel about us sometimes, like,
Using them?
well, thinking of them as, because we, as our cousin, our close cousin.
My experience over here, and this is if I had never left America, I probably would have never had any image of Canadians other than they just live in the country up above me. But coming over here, I've realized there's a lot of anti-American sentiment among Canadians.
There is something.
Like a chip on the shoulder that, that we feel that they're in their, like, I was joking around when I said in our backyard,
I was
right?
feeling uncomfortable talking about that for
right.
that very reason, yeah.
But that was a joke. And had I not been in this country and experienced all that, I probably never would have said anything like that. But I don't know what the big deal is. I've never really thought anything about Canadians other than, well, they just live across the border from me. I consider us to be about the same,
Yeah, I know, and I don't know, but I'm not sure what they think of us sometimes. I've spent a lot of time in Canada. I mean, not a lot of time, traveled through basically most of the country, and it felt like being at home.
Right. Well, Kevin's Canadian,
yeah.
Right? And I've never, I've ribbed him here and there, and he's ribbed me here and there, but I don't really get any negative feeling from him at all whatsoever.
No.
About the American-Canadian thing.
No, you do encounter that sometimes, though. Yeah.
But yeah, you do experience it.
But what we got to do? We got to try to dress up like Canadians and go to Calgary.
Right. Stick maple leaves on our backpacks across the border.
Okay, that's how this video will end, with an experiment of Jim and I attempting to impersonate Canadians. What are those two guys?
The McKenzie brothers.
The McKenzie brothers. That's right. We'll be the new version.
We're gonna get some beer, eh?
Hey. Gee, now we did it.
Right.
Now we did it. It's okay for them to say "hey," but not us.
No, because we were just doing a parody of the McKenzie brothers, right? That's all it was.
All we were doing.
It's free reign.
That's
free
right.
reign.
Okay, well, let's wrap this one up. Can you push the button?
I sure will.
We'll get on to
Bye,
more.
everybody.
We'll get on to more inflammatory things.
Oh, wait a minute. I can do Scottish too.
Okay.
Oh, fook.
That's pretty good.
Okay. See ya.
Bye.